Welcome to the Black Script Storytellers. My name is Kevin Marable, and today we have an amazing guest with us. She is an author and a screenwriter. She has authored over 35 books, or 35 novels, I should say, and a screenwriter of several films, which you can find on BET Plus. LaJill Hunt is with us. LaJill, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. So with every interview, we like to start with a very simple question, but some might find it a little difficult to answer. Are you ready?
I'm nervous. Go ahead.
That question is, who is LaJill Hunt?
Ooh, who is LaJill Hunt? LaJill Hunt is a native of Mobile, Alabama, a graduate of the greatest high school on earth, John L. LaFleur High School. I'm a mom. I'm a writer. I'm a creator. And I'm a homegirl. Like, yeah.
Right. I love it. I'm a homegirl.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, as you said, you are a writer, author of over 35 books, screenwriter of several films, which can be found on BET Plus. You first got your start as an author, writing novels. Your first novel, Drama Queen, was released in 2003. You then went on to write a slew of novels to include several series, which led you to the Family Business series with Carl Weber. You joined him on the Family Business books 4, 5, and 6. Can you walk us through how that came to be?
uh let's see. I actually started out back in 2003 as Carl Weber's protege. Ironically, a bookstore accidentally gave me his cell phone number thinking it was a number to a distribution company for books, because at the time I was considering self-publishing, but they accidentally gave me Carl Weber's cell phone number.
Wow.
Like, so I called him asking questions about distribution, and he was like, "Why are you calling me?" Like, but that phone conversation led to me telling him about a novel that I was working on called Homies, Lovers, and Friends, the autobiography of a drama queen. And he said, first of all, that is too many words to be on the cover of a book. Like, now, mind you, I had no idea who he was. So I was like, who are you to tell me how many words go in a book? Like, and we just had like this great, funny conversation, neither one of us knowing who we were. And at the end, when he told me who he was, I kind of freaked out because at that time he had 2 novels out, and that was Married Men and Looking for Love. So he was like one of my favorite authors. So I was like, oh, yes, sir. Like, he's like, no, don't try to be polite now. Like, whatever. But that was like the start of our friendship. And he ended up getting a distribution deal with Kensington for Urban Books. And I was the first author released, Drama Queen, back in 2003.
Wow. Okay. So he actually helped you get your start, or at least with the publishing
Yeah,
and the
I was
distribution side.
the first author signed to Urban Books, and I started out as his protege. Like, I continued writing, kind of got burnt out and put the pen down, and put the pen down for like 5 years, actually. And then just encouragement from other writers in the game that were friends of mine told me to pick it back up. And Carl found out I was writing again, and he just randomly hit me up like, "Hey, you want to co-write?" He said, you want to co-write Grand Opening, which was the prequel to Family Business. And I was like, okay. And so that's how we started back co-writing. And then in the midst of co-writing with him, I started a fiction podcast and I began teaching myself the art of screenwriting, because I had to write a script for my cast and my audio engineer. And Carl called me one day and he was like, "Jill, guess what?" And I was like, "What?" He said, Family Business got picked up, by BET. And he was like, "Too bad you don't know how to write scripts, because, we will pull you in." And I was like, haha, I do know how to write a script. Like,
Okay.
and so.
So let me stop you there. First and foremost, talk about how stars align and how you ran into, miraculously ran into Carl Weber fell into your lap, so to speak.
Definitely.
And all of this transpired to where you were able to get your books published. Um, like you said, you took a little hiatus, but then you came back. Carl Weber reached back out to you and said, "Hey, do you want to do, a
Yeah, because even though I
co-author?"
wasn't writing, I was still a fan of the series. So
Right.
it was seamless when he came to me because I had already read book 1, 2, and 3. So
Mm,
I was already
you
a
were
fan of the
already,
series. So it was like when
yeah,
he said you want to go write grand opening, I was like,
it's a
okay.
no-brainer.
Like, and I knew the characters, and because we'd co-written before, like actually
Mhm,
before Drama Queen, Carl Weber and I, there was an anthology about people winning the lottery called A Dollar in a Dream. So
mhm.
really that was how, we started being able to co-write, like, because when you co-write with someone, you have to be able to write in the same voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same goes in screenwriting as well, or if you're in a writer's room. And
Yes.
yeah, mhm.
Yes.
Um, did you and Carl Weber live, or do you guys live in the same vicinity, same area? How did you
No.
guys come together to co-write
No.
these?
Originally, when Family Business first started, Carl was in New York, I was in
Mm,
Virginia Beach.
wow.
And then Carl transitioned. Now he's kind of like bi-coastal.
Uh,
And now I live in Wakanda, aka Atlanta. So we still like, no, we just do a lot of Zoom and cell phone calls. Yeah.
got it. Yeah. Okay, wow. So before Carl asked you about screenwriting, at what point did you know that you wanted to also become a screenwriter?
I don't think I think it was just the natural ascension.
Okay.
I was writing books, and I
Hmm.
became a I became an Issa Rae fan,
Yeah.
and I was all things Issa Rae at one point.
Mhm.
And when I become a fan of a creative, I study them. And
Right.
I found out Issa Rae had this fiction podcast. And a lot of people didn't even know, like, they were like, and I listened to this fiction podcast and I was like, I can do this. I wonder if I can do this. Cause I wonder.
Was this before Awkward Black Girl, or
This was right
around the same
after
time?
Insecure. It was when Insecure
Okay.
first started. Um, and then I had also seen Awkward Black Girl, but then I went
Mhm.
on like a deep dive of Issa Rae and found out about this fiction podcast about an NFL player who happens to be on the DL. And I was like, and a lot of people still to this day don't know about this fiction podcast. It's the weirdest
Right.
thing. But I
Yeah.
was listening to it and I was like, I wonder if I can do this. So a friend of mine was a music producer. He is a music producer. And I
Mhm.
was thinking, like, I went to his house and I said, I want to write a fiction podcast. And he was like, what the hell is that? And I said, listen, we can do this. You got a studio. We just got to
Mhm.
figure out, like, so I called my most dramatic friends, those friends that when they tell a story, like,
Yeah.
it's always like you want to hear the story because it's from them. So I
Yeah.
called like my most dramatic friends, and the same day that I was talking to my music producer Alan, a friend called me about a situation. And when she told me this situation she was in, I was like, ding.
It's a
Now
perfect.
I know. Like, now I know what my fiction podcast is going to be about. And
Right.
so I got my most, like, I created my characters surrounding like about this situation that she was in. And I really, the first script was in Microsoft Word because I just
Yeah.
started out. And so we recorded the first episode, and then I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Like, it's got to be. And then I
Mhm.
found out about Final Draft for the iPad that was like $15. And I went on
Yeah.
YouTube University and taught myself how to use Final Draft.
Right.
And here's the thing I tell people all the time, like, studying is studying. If you really want to do something, you're going to study study how to do it. Like, so I already knew how to create a story. I knew how to bring about drama. I just needed to get the mechanics. And so YouTube University taught me how to use like
Yeah.
yeah.
It taught us all. It taught us all.
Yeah. And so when Carl said, like, do you know how to write a script? I was like, well, yes, I
It was like,
do.
actually,
I know how to use Final Draft. And he was like, what? And so he said, okay, write this particular scene. And I sent it back to him and he was like, well, damn, okay. Yeah, like, come on, let's go.
right, right.
Yes, it's just a natural progression of things.
Yeah, and so okay, it is a natural progression of things, especially if you love storytelling and you would love to see your novels transition into films. There's a lot of authors out there who only maybe foresee them being a novelist. They don't really foresee them actually becoming the screenwriter, and having both the book and the film,
Mm-hmm.
or writing in both arenas.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I asked that question, because not all authors want to be screenwriters, and not all screenwriters are authors.
Exactly. And
And so,
they require two different skill sets. That's why I had
yeah,
to study the craft of screenwriting. And
yeah,
it's two different, it's a
yeah, it's a
learning,
skill.
it is a process.
Yes, it really is, and you have to get it down right, not include so much extra, and it only needs to be
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
going to be played on screen. And
Yeah.
that's hard coming from being an author to becoming a screenwriter, because a screenwriter is, you're in a way, you're kind of giving direction through words on paper. The
Exactly.
author, you're actually painting the whole story
Yes. And when you
on
talk to
paper.
screenwriting, I tell people all the time, like, I had to understand budget. Like,
Right.
every time you move a car in a scene, it costs money. Like, you can drive all around the world in a book, but don't you let that car move. You better make them people have a conversation outside that car.
Right. That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so you are, we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit.
Okay.
You are the writer for both hit shows, The Family Business and The Black Hamptons. Can you tell us how you were approached to turn those into a television series?
I was not approached. Carl Weber was approached.
Okay, and Carl Weber brought you on.
And then he allowed me the opportunity to assist. Yes.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I have a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
And let me find that follow-up question. Okay. Once the screenplay is written, what are the next steps usually to get it ready for production?
Once the script is done, we send it to network. And then network reads it. And then they send it back to us with notes. And then we change it and send it to them. And then they send it back to us again with notes.
It's a constant back and forth.
It is a constant back and forth. And I tell
until they give you the green light.
I tell aspiring screenwriters all the time, if you want your project to, like, your producer has notes, your executive producer has notes, network has notes. Sometimes even when during production, cast may have, like, I think I'd rather say it this way. So you can't get so attached that this is my work, this is my vision, like da 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 da. And you have to be respectful of positions, and and everybody is doing it for the overall vision of the project. So it really is a process. And that's another thing that you have to learn. Like, there are going to be notes that you cannot be so married to your script that it's your way or the highway. Well, you're not going to get your stuff produced. How about that? And it's the same way. If you're a great writer, you have a great editor. The job of a great editor when you are writing books is to take your great book and make it even greater. And you have to allow people to do their job. So I don't want to write like a good book and be like, yes, y'all, here's this book. My editor takes my book to the next level. And a lot of times that's what like your executive producer will do with your script. They will take a great script and take it to the next level.
Right, right. Okay. And a lot of times the back and forth is make sure you include this here, take this out, put this here,
Mm-hmm.
take this out,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So they're basically an editor as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a different sense.
Yes,
Got it.
definitely. And then there are times where, you know, sometimes, especially with a TV series, your minor character may have such a major impact and
Right.
even gain such a fan base that it's
Yes.
like, oh, okay, this is who the people want to see. So we
Yes.
will create storylines, around characters that really have an impact, and it helps you
Right.
grow your story.
Right. Yeah, we've talked to several actors who would come on set as just, maybe for one or two episodes and then will ultimately become a series regular.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and at that point, they start to get written into all of the scripts or, throughout the entire season or that type of deal.
Yeah. And that's
It
what,
happens.
like, actors, there are no small parts because you never know. Like, you
Right.
just never know what impact you're going to have. Like, that the emotion and how you deliver, how it comes across on screen. Like, if
Hmm.
you come and you take that minor role and you nail it,
Yeah.
like, it's like, oh, we definitely want to see more of, like, yes. Yes. And
Right.
even characters or talent that haven't been in our shows, if we see them in something else in a small role and they deliver, it's like, who's that? Like, we need them
Right.
for this character that we're working on right here. And it could be the smallest thing, but because they've just their performance in just that small role was just that impactful, we're like, man, imagine if we bring them on here and
Yes.
give them this.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes. You really have to seize the moment, really.
definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So, you on top of those shows, you also wrote The Final Say, which is on BET Plus, and it's an original film.
It is.
And you've also written For What It's Worth, which is also an original film on BET Plus. Um, are you able to speak on what each of those films are about?
Yes. Uh The Final Say is actually a faith-based film.
Hmm.
And I was speaking to Larissa Bates. I've been asking her for the longest. I've been telling her, like, I want to do a faith-based film. Like, I want to do, and she's like, ah. And we were just having a general conversation.
Uh-huh.
And I said, oh my gosh, let me tell you a story. And it was the craziest thing. I was really just trying to share some encouraging words. And I
Hmm.
told her this true story. And at the end, I was like, see, God has the final say. That's what we
Mm.
always have to remember when everything, like, it's not what anybody else says, it's God always has the final say. And she said, oh my God, that's your faith based. Yes, that's the
Yeah.
one. And I was like, no, no, not that one,
Really?
Louisa. Like,
You didn't think
that's,
so?
but I was like, that's a true story. Like, uh, no, my cousin is gonna kill me. And so she was like, I don't know what you're gonna do. You're gonna have to tell your cousin. And so I called my cousin and I was like, hey girl, guess what? And the first thing, I don't know how, it was like she automatically knew. She was like, no. And I was like, what? She said, you promised me. You've promised me. She said, I know what you're calling about. I said, I promise you it would never be a book. And she was like, well, what is it? What are you trying to do with it? I was like, they want it for a TV movie. She was like, have you lost your mind? And I was like, listen, this is it. And so finally she was like, you better have someone good play me. And so I literally embellished her true story, but
Right.
kept
Right.
the essence of it because it
Right.
really is a true story. And I think that's the crazy part about it. People, and it resonated with people. Like the whole thing just resonated with so many people, and I'm so glad that we did it, because I constantly get DMs and emails from women and men that are like, "Yo, like, thank you for this. Like, this really
Yeah.
like helped like my situation." And I was just like, "Oh." And I tell my cousin all the time, I was like, "See, imagine if we would have put it in a book. Like, God had
Yeah.
bigger plans for it, girl. Like,
Much
ah,
bigger, yeah. The viewership for sure, because
yes,
not everybody likes to read, you know?
exactly. Yes." And for what it's worth, I was in New York at a premiere. Ironically, that a movie Jamel Howard was in.
Yeah.
Again, a natural ascension. And
Uh-huh.
Loretta Edwards Wilson, she was like, LaJill, she was like, I want to do a project about mental health in the Black community. And so I was like, okay. And she was like, see what you can come up with. And I told her, I was like, okay, if I do this, Loretta, I don't want to do the obvious. I don't want to do depression. I don't want to do suicide. I don't want to do schizophrenia. I don't, because not that those are, not that I was dismissing any of that, but there are
Right.
so many other mental health
There
issues
are.
that we
Yeah.
don't address in the Black community. They
Yeah.
are underlying silent issues. And I just thought of some of the people that I love and some of my own mental health issues. And
Mhm.
I wanted to bring those to the forefront. And so I told her, I was like, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put the medicine in the candy
Mhm.
and bring it to the forefront. And I just came up with like 4 foster kids who happen to be
Right.
adopted by this amazing doctor and his wife. And all of them are successful, but
Right.
all of them have an underlying issue.
Mhm.
And I know people would love the drama between the siblings, but people also, and I was so glad because people got it. Like, it clicked. Like, oh, wait. Like, and I knew like there are people in our lives that we pretty much know that they pop off. Like, we just be like, oh, like they just pop off or they just snap. And we say like, oh, that's just how they are, or oh, they just got a short fuse. No, that's intermittent anger syndrome. Like, that's
Yeah.
a mental health issue. That's an unresolved emotion that needs to be addressed so that you can cope with your anger. But we
Yeah.
always say like, that's, she just got a short temper. We just got to tiptoe around that person. We're not supposed to be tiptoeing around that person because that anger needs to be regulated.
Right.
So, and then, you know, even with the character Gerard, he popping tums because he's like, oh, my chest, like I keep getting indigestion. No, that's because you're stressed and you have anxiety and you're not
Mhm.
addressing what's really wrong.
Right. Using
So,
the coping mechanisms to
yes. And I know guys that go to the gym constantly. They do 2 a days, like, oh, I got to get my body right. But you also need to get your mental health right. You need to pay just as much attention to your mental health that you do your physical health.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really
So,
do. I just want to say I did watch For What It's Worth, and For What It's Worth is a great film. I told the guys when I interviewed them, they all did amazing. Everybody in the cast did amazing. And it didn't feel the script feels like you're just listening to everyday conversations. It doesn't feel like these are words that are written down on a piece of paper that somebody is just regurgitating.
mm-hmm.
It felt real. It felt honest. It was relatable. Um, and I know you already come from the world of being an author and writing all of that out, but to that's a skill within itself to make it seem so natural, to
Yes.
where you don't even have to
Thank
think,
you.
think twice as far as the conversation and a lot of the dialogue that's happening. It just is.
Yeah. And my
Yeah,
cast nailed it. They nailed
it is.
each
Yeah.
and every line. I was like, wow. And I tell people all the time, like, that's why sometimes you
Mhm.
have to sometimes you have to fight for who it is, because in my mind, like, I know this person can deliver it, because I'm a fan of each and every one of them. Like,
Right.
I became a fan of Leslie Black when she was on The Resident. I think it was The Resident, and I was like, oh, I
Yes.
love her so much. Like, ah.
Yes.
And oh gosh, Kevin Savage. I met him. When I tell you, the first time I met Kevin, I had a whole fangirl moment. Like, oh my God, Kevin Savage. Ah.
He's cool. He's real down to
He
earth
was, and
too.
he told me, and I told him that day at the movie premiere, and I was like, "You're my vision board. One day I'm gonna work with you." Like, and I just knew the people that I wanted. And Patrice Covington,
Yeah. Mhm.
I knew from the moment when I was working on the treatment, not even the outline. I knew Patrice was my Naomi. I also knew Patrice had never been in like BET or a lot of black spaces in television.
Right.
So it was like, I know y'all have never seen her network, but listen, this
Yeah.
girl is going to bring everything that I need or we need for this to come to. And even with Pastor Mike, it was seamless. I know his testimony, and I knew he was going to just pretty much be himself.
Right.
Pretty
Right.
much like be himself.
Yeah.
And I needed that church element to show that you can have Jesus and therapy. Like, the two can coexist at the same time.
Amen. Yeah. And Jesus is therapy. Church is therapy.
Yes, exactly.
um. Okay. So you also I, I'm I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're
I'm jumping.
fine.
I already went over that. Okay. One more show. It's an anthology series. I got a story to tell. It's currently available on Tubi. It stars a slew of major actors: April Jones, Jess Hilarious, Pooch Hall, Blue Kimball, Young Jock, Reginae Carter, Darren Henson, and more. Can you tell us a little bit about what I got a story to tell is about?
Okay. I got a story to tell is pretty much like Black Mirror.
Oh,
It's very similar to Black Mirror. Every episode is titled after a hip hop song.
wow.
And it always starts out with a character that says, "Oh, I got a story to tell," and then it goes into the story that they're telling.
Mm,
Um I always pretty much write in the same vein. Like, I am the drama queen, even when it comes to books. You know, I will do faith based, I do drama, I do rom com, I do romance. Like, that is who I am.
mhm.
Larissa Bates decided that I needed to stretch myself. I I'm scary. I don't do horror, thriller, suspense. Like, you know the theme song to Unsolved Mystery? Like, back in the like,
Yes,
it haunts me. Like, ah.
right.
And she said, she said, Jill, this opportunity is going to stretch you as a writer. And I was like,
Mhm,
but I'm scared. Like, I don't want to do. Well, I kept saying I can't do this. I can't.
mhm.
And she kept saying you can because you're a writer. And so I was like, okay. My episode is called Dear Mama. I started it on Mother's Day, and of course the Tupac song was playing, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna write about? And
Right.
so I wrote about there is a guy, his name is Mason, and he's fallen in love. He's finally found the woman of his dreams, and he decides to take her home to meet his mother. And that is where the drama ensues. Like,
Yeah.
it turns like absolutely bad shit crazy. because his mom is like, who is this? Why is she at my house? And his mother decides by any means necessary, she's going to get rid of this girl.
Mm,
Like, under no circumstances is her son going to marry this girl.
right.
Uh,
And that happens a lot in relationships. If the mother doesn't approve, then it's problems. So,
yes. So it's a twist at the end. The
mhm.
first draft, I turned it into Marcus Smoot, and he's like, story is great. He was like, love the story. He said, but Jill, where's the horror? And I said, it's implied. He was like,
Yeah.
it can't be implied, Jill. We gotta see it. And I was like, I don't want to see it. And so they kind of helped guide me. Like they
Mhm,
guided me through it. And when it clicked, it clicked. And it stretched me as a writer. I had to step out of my comfort zone.
mhm.
Ended up having a blast writing it. Honestly, it turned fun.
Yeah.
Uh, they filmed it, and I went on set, and I was good all day. Um, until it got night, and they turned on like the fog, and like it got real, and I was like, okay, I'm out. Like, oh, it's getting
So
dark.
I've
Oh
seen
boy.
I've seen enough.
Yes. So I and do you know I went to leave and the food truck had me blocked in. So I had to stay.
It's just like a scary movie too.
Yes. I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to be here for this part. But it was so much fun. The episode turned out great.
Mhm.
Mona Scott Young played my therapist in the in the uh
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
episode. And she actually loved it. She was like, this was so much fun. And they actually asked me to write an episode for season 2, and I'm like, I don't want
Yeah.
to. Like, ah.
Keep at it, because you just never know. You
Yeah,
never know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it does. It takes me out of my comfort zone. And the projects that do take me out of my comfort zone are the ones that I really, really enjoy the most. The one that we're filming now, I'm like,
Right.
okay, like,
Yeah.
okay, this is cool.
Speaking of the one that you're filming now, I'm pretty sure you can't say anything, so we'll keep the project under wraps. But you're currently on set right now, which is why you're in your car.
Yes.
How long have you been on set? How long is this project taking?
They started shooting on the 14th of May. I
Oh
just
wow.
got here today, but I'm here till Sunday.
Hmm.
Having a blast. This is the first time I've ever written a biopic. And oh my gosh, the
Wow.
story is
Yeah.
amazing. I'm having so much fun. Like, because we actually have the real person here, and then we have the talent playing everyone else. And
Hmm.
it's incredible. Um, it is a Megamind picture with Tressa Smallwood.
Okay. Yeah. You don't even. I know exactly what you're talking about now. So
Ah,
I know exactly who you're talking about and what project you're talking about.
oh my gosh. This
Yeah.
and
This is gonna be amazing.
this is
Yeah.
going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I'm a fan of someone, I always do I do a deep dive. Like, I put myself through a master class recently that I created for one of the
Hmm.
greatest TV writer producers in the world.
Wow.
And that's what I do. Like, I have studied Aaron spelling, like, front to back. Like,
Really.
because if I needed to understand what was it about him that he could create these television series with 18 seasons, 22 episodes each season, that would have all of us, my grandparents, parents, us, like, in a chokehold.
Tuned
So,
in.
like, I needed to know. So, writing the biopic, the one that's being filmed now, talking to all of these people in this story, and there's some heavy hitters in this story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, to to do Zoom interviews and to just hear all of the different bits and pieces, and just, I was like, yo,
Yeah.
this is the one project that studio kept sending the script back like, it's too many pages.
Wow,
It's too
because you
many
have so much
pages.
information. Yeah.
It's too many pages. And even network, it was such a, they would get stumped like, we have to shorten it. We don't want to take anything out
Yeah.
because
So yeah,
it's
and
so
so
good.
and I know there's only so much you can tell me, but they're wrapping this up as just one feature. Instead, you guys don't have any type of uh green light to do like a two-part series or like a limited series.
Right now, when we look, they made me shrink that bad boy down to 92 pages, and 92 was like,
Yeah, 92 pages. Wow.
like, and normally they try to keep it at like 87, 88. No, they let me get away with 92.
Yeah. Wow. That's a
Yeah.
lot to condense into 92 pages.
It's a lot to condense into 92 pages. But there are certain elements that I know people are going to think one thing, but when they see it, it's going to be like, oh, I'm the queen of drama. I'm gonna hit them emotions each and every. You saw for what it's worth.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, this
Yeah, I can't wait to see this once it's complete. I
one
didn't know
is phenomenal.
I didn't know you've been filming since May. Or you
Yeah,
said May or March?
May
May. Okay.
14th. Yeah,
Okay. So I got it. Okay.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's gonna be exciting, man. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Let me ask you a writing question for our fellow writers, screenwriters, authors that might be tuned in and listening. Um, do you have any writing exercises or practices that you use to keep the creative juices flowing and not hit writer's block?
Let me see if it's in here. I'm digging. I'm digging. Everything that I write, everything. I don't care if it's a script. I don't care if, like, everything I write by
Oh, so
hand.
it's written by hand.
I write it by hand. Like, I write it by hand, and then I I go through it. I always, because I started out writing by hand. Like,
Mm,
my first novel, Drama Queen, was written on a legal pad and
wow.
pen. So I always have to write it out by hand in order to process from here to the paper, and then I
Hmm.
type it, and then it's like, oh, okay. And I
Hmm.
write it out by hand because it keeps me focused. Because sometimes, as a writer, like, I'll go all the way left, and then I'll be
Yeah.
like, oh wait, that's not what the story was about. Like, come back, come back, come back, come back. So it keeps me, like, it keeps me grounded. So
Okay.
it's easier
Got
for me to get what's in my head and in my heart on the paper with a pen first than to
it. Mm.
sit in front. Because sometimes staring at that blank screen can be a little
Right.
bit intimidating.
It is. It
And
is.
also writing by hand, and people ask me all the time, and I'm not trying to be funny. And they like, everyone that says I want to write a book, where do I start? And I tell them, with a pen and paper.
Hmm.
And because when you talk about a laptop or an iPad or this, it gives you an excuse like, oh, I don't have, or oh, I don't like, but you can write in a bathroom.
Right.
Like, you can write in your car. You can write as long as
Right.
you have a pen and a pad. Like, you can't say, well, I didn't have, my laptop wasn't charged, or because if you stare at that blank screen long enough, you're
Hmm.
like, you'll shut it down and be like, I don't feel like doing this right now. But you can
Yeah.
you can write by hand. Now sometimes
Yeah.
I cheat because I got an Apple Pencil, but still same thing.
Yeah. The hardest part is getting, for me at least, is the first sentence. You
Yeah.
might have you might have the full idea, you might have an outline, but those first few words of starting it
Hmm.
is the hard part, because once you get past that, then your juices start flowing. At
Yeah.
least from
And I tell people, just commit to 15 minutes a day. Like, don't be like, if you can commit to 15, because some days that's all I write. Like, I'm like, oh, let me just get my 15 minutes. Now, most that, like, Of course, I do, but there's sometimes I'm just like I don't feel like doing this, or I can't think. I have too much going on, but I still for 15 minutes a day I have to
Mhm.
do that, like, because
Right.
also the one of the biggest parts of writing is consistency.
Mhm.
Like, you have to consistently write in
Mhm.
order for your brain to kind of like continue to function in that capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, LaJill, what is next for you? I know you're currently on set. I'm not sure if you're still authoring novels
Yeah.
or if that's kind of on the side because you're so busy in the TV and film world.
No,
But
I'm still
what's
I'm still signing
what's next?
urban books, so I still have to put a book. So we have Black Hampton's book 2 that is
Okay.
actually coming out.
Hmm.
Uh, and I have a standalone novel called Catching Feelings that
Mm,
I am working on. It actually, I have to turn it in on July 1st. So working
wow.
on that and still working on, scripts. And I got some pride. Look, now I'm like pitching. Like, it's pitching season. So we'll see. I
Oh,
have some.
I actually have a question for you as in regards to pitching because I didn't realize you were also on the pitching end of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things, or yeah, let me ask that. What are some of the things that writers should know when going into a pitch? What should they come in already prepared with?
Where do you want your project to land? What network? Because there's a difference in, oh, I want to write a movie and it's Hallmark. If it's a Hallmark movie, you don't want to pitch it to FX. Like,
Right.
know where it is that you want your project to land, and know what studios or networks are looking for. Like,
Hmm.
that's the secret. Ask producers, what are you looking for right now? Like, what? And then again, I'm blessed. Like, I'm so blessed. Believe it or not, I'm truly blessed to be able to be tell producers, yeah, I don't think that's for me.
Hmm.
Because, so, like, know what it is that you like, know what's for you,
Hmm.
because everything isn't for everybody. And I don't want to rob somebody of an opportunity just because I know,
Right.
I want to write something and get it somewhere. Like, no, I want to write what God has called me to write, what God has purposed me to write. Like, I and I think that's why I really am blessed with all of these opportunities that I have right now, because I'm like, God, I just want to do what you want me to do. And I know, God, you ain't call me to write no horror movie. So I probably could write it. Like, honestly, I probably could, but I don't want to rob anybody of an opportunity. Like, they know
Hmm.
they want to write. So some things, networks and studios and producers, I know that's what they want,
Hmm.
but I know what I'm called to do.
Right.
And I know my time. I just need to be ready when the time comes.
Right.
Like, like, I'm ready. And there's some producers that be like, Jill, what you got? And I'll tell them, and they're like, that's not what we want right now. Not a problem. But
So
there are also some producers that will circle back and say, remember you told me about that? Like,
right
yes,
when the time is right,
when the time is right.
and the network is looking for X type of project. Yeah, they
Yep.
could always circle back.
Yes.
Now, if you're a writer and you don't necessarily know of any producers or anybody in the industry, how hard is it to get your story or your screenplay pitched? Is it that much more difficult?
If you don't know, in today's time, it's a little easier.
Okay.
I in Atlanta, uh, there's a group called Greenlit ATL. We meet once a
Yes.
month.
Hmm.
Their motto is create, don't wait.
Hmm.
Like, you can partner with other creatives and create what it is. that you want and build an audience around it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another, like, you can't say that you want to do stuff and then you don't go out and network,
Right.
because networking is key. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, there's a group of creatives, and we just randomly, I don't even know how we came together, but we meet once a month now, like, just, and we just brainstorm, and like we just bounce ideas, or who do you know, or what, and it's literally like 6 of us, and we meet once a month for
Mm-hmm.
lunch, and we always start our meetings with, what do you need help with?
Okay, got
And
it.
I promise you, by lunch, everyone at least, like, they have some sort of direction to get to the next level of where it is that they're trying to be. Whether
Right.
I need somebody to fund, or I need a gaffer, or I need talent, or I need to connect over here. And you just, like, we build together. Like, and that's the thing about it. And we, like, Jason, oh God, what is Jason's last name? I'm so sorry, Jason. I'm sorry. Chantal Maurice and Jason Louder. Jason Louder.
Okay.
Jason Louder told me something one day, and Jason is a phenomenal actor. He said it's not networking, it's net giving. What can you help somebody else get? What can you
Got
give to other people? And ever since then, I don't even look at it as networking. How can I net give? How can I serve others in this industry? And
it.
you'd be
Mm-hmm.
surprised, if your whole attitude is, how can I serve others? How many people will serve you in getting, assisting you in getting to where it is that you're trying to go?
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Yeah, you have to be an open book. You have to be able to share information, not gatekeep.
And you have to
Um,
be authentic. Like,
yeah,
you really got to be, it has to come from an authentic place in order
right,
for God to honor it. Like,
right,
yep.
right. Yeah, no, that's great, man. That is great. All right, so the, lastly, I like to give my guests a chance to give the final word, whether that be a piece of advice, words of encouragement, or a quote that you like to live by. You can say all three, or you can choose one of the three. It's up to you.
Let me, words that I live by. All is well, all will be well. All is well, all will be well. All is well, all will be well. God's will, nothing more, nothing less. Always best is God's will.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, well, LaJill Hunt, thank you so much. It was truly a pleasure having you on. Thank you for taking time off away from set to do this interview, and to share your knowledge and your expertise, and take us along on your journey, and how you got to where you are today. Um, we are true fans of yours, and we
Aw,
continue
I'm
to.
true fans of yours.
We will
Like,
continue to champion all of the work that you're doing. We love the family business. It's an awesome series, and
season 5 coming July 5th on BET Plus.
yes, and the family business New Orleans. Yes.
Yes. Family Business New Orleans.
So yeah, we were excited to have you on, and thank you so much for giving us that opportunity. And from this point on, and all endeavors that you do, we will be the people championing you on the sidelines. And if there's anything that we can do to help, we're always here as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, LaJill Hunt, everybody.